Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has released its latest regional economic outlook, and Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, is not on the list of the continent's fastest growing economies. According to the IMF, countries like the Republic of Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda are now leading Africa's growth trajectory.
These nations are projected to grow between 6% and 11% in 2025, while Nigeria lags behind at just 3.3%. The IMF attributes this growth to sustained policy reforms, improved fiscal management, and investments in infrastructure and manufacturing. So the question is, what's holding Nigeria back? I do recall, and I'm sure that you too can recall, that just a few years ago, Nigeria was touted as the giant of Africa economically and otherwise. Well, joining us for this discussion is investment banker and public affairs analyst Nnaemeka Obiaraeri. Joins me this morning. Good morning. All right, I believe you can hear us. Well, let's go straight into it.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good, good. The figures we just reeled out doesn't look too impressive or doesn't look too hopeful. What do you think is taking Nigeria aback, especially at this moment?
To be honest with you, 3.4% GDP growth for 2025 is actually an improvement from what we have seen since 2015. Basically, it is driven, like you saw the report clearly stated, by higher oil output and stability within the oil and gas sector. Because you notice that over the last 1 year, we've had oil output steady at the level of about 1.5, 1.6, 1.65 barrels a day, unlike in the before 2023, when we were having output at a level of about 1 million barrels or less. You may recall in 2021, I think on Arise TV, one of their morning shows, where the former GMD of NNPC gleefully stated, how they've been losing over $22 billion worth of oil resources to thieves and inefficiencies. Now, that is not to say that, that we have a lot of headrooms to improve upon. Like I've always said it, out of the 1,200 MDAs at the federal level, it's only about 3 parastatals that are actually doing so well. The great works that Nnaemeka also is doing at the CBN, to a large extent, has actually helped to stabilize FX window. Before he came, we used to have multiple exchange rate regime where we had an arbitrage gap of about 300 naira to $1 that allowed a lot of round tripping and criminal money laundering to happen in the system. He was able to purge the system. Now, nobody can easily secure $15 million allocation and then round trip and sell it in the black market. That is stability. And the guy at the NUPROC, Komalafe, is doing a lot of job. You can see clearly that it's actually oil output that is driving this, which does not actually affect, does not allow all-inclusive growth. Because for us to achieve all-inclusive growth and get to the level that we used to be, about 8% per annum, we need to do a lot of work on the fiscal side. The governors, the local government chairman, and all the other operatives within the MDAs in Abuja. Komalafa is doing a lot of good work with that. Then Ojulari is doing his best to see how he can stop the bazaar and criminality at the NNPC. Time will not allow me to unpack things they need to do more on that sector to ensure that we achieve at least average of 5% growth on GDP. But the key thing here is that if we actually want to ramp up GDP growth in Nigeria to 7-10% per annum, which we can easily do, to do a lot of work on the fiscal side. Apart from the reforms, we need to stop fiscal profligacy and criminality. Over 60% of whatever is brought in Nigeria are actually looted. We remember our local the EFC chairman said that between 2020 to 2022, over 2.3 trillion naira were stolen from the federal budget alone through over-invoicing and other criminal activities. We need to reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria drastically, and it will require us implementing the Orasanya report on fiscal discipline and within the governance space. So I think so far we have something going for us. We have FX stability. Any investor coming into Nigeria will at least have a clear sight of how much he's bringing in and how much he can take out. Because of that, then we will need to do a lot of work in ensuring that we de-risk investments and allow investors to be able to come in. Insecurity is still on the high. People still in IDP camps, 310,000 people still in refugee camps in Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. A lot of work needs to be done on the physical side. If we're able to tackle insecurity, if we're able to ramp up productivity on the non-oil side, where we can be able to generate revenues of at least $250 to $300 billion annually from the agri sector, we can actually reduce the NPR rate from the current 27% level to the single digits, which will catalyze productivity, within the real sector of the economy. A lot of work needs to be done, but these works are mainly on the physical side. The governors, local government chairmen, and most of the guys that sit in President Tinubu's cabinet are the fake.
All right, you've spoken about the work that needs to be done, the areas in which we need to cut expenses, and the transparency that needs to be evident to all. But what about the reputational importance of being on the list of the IMF's fastest rising economies? How important is that?
It is very, very important. Like I said to you, Olive, Nigeria has the potential to even grow at 15% per annum. Remember that President Tinubu touted the vision of the government to build up a $1 trillion economy within the next 5 years. For you, currently Nigeria's GDP is at about $243 billion. That is really based from the actual level of about $183 billion. For us to grow from the current $243 billion to $1 trillion, we need to grow up the GDP at an average, cumulative average growth rate of about 20% per annum. And we can do it. I sit here in my corner here, and I can show you clearly, sector by sector, what we need to do to build up this economy. And the truth is that those in Abuja, those in the states, those at the local government level, they know this truth. But for them to muster the discipline, for them to muster the courage, for them to muster the strength to do the right thing is what is lacking. Like I always say to anybody who cares listening, the DNA of the average Nigerian politician, 99% of them is actually programmed only to loot, to steal, and to share. Most of them, their minds and their brains are not wired to think like Michael Okpara, to think like Desa Mbakwe, to think like Tafa Belewa or Obafemi Awolowo or Dr. Jokonde. The mind of the current political actors across the 3 tiers and arms of government are actually wired just to steal, to loot, and to devour. And that is the problem. So, since we know clearly that in their DNA, we can't stop them from stealing. Why not just us, just like what India and the South Korea did? Allow them 2 years amnesty. Whatever you steal, bring it back. Do you know that over $500 billion have been stolen and looted out of this country since 1999? That is why some of them are buying houses in Florida with them of their wife and children. Some are buying in Potomac. Some are buying in Maryland. Go to the over $18 worth of properties are owned by Nigerians, mostly from looted funds out of this country. Give them amnesty. Let them bring back this investment. If some of them are too bereft of ideas of what to do, we can volunteer pro bono to show them clearly what they can do sector by sector to put back their money here, to ensure that we build up this economy and grow it at the level of 20% per annum GDP growth rate. And the truth is also, we can actually fix this insecurity in Nigeria within the next 6 months, if we are sincere. The governor of Zamfara State, Dauda, even stated it. He said, if we have the political will between Abuja and the state, in 2 weeks, they will destroy all the bandits, destroy them. Because they know where they are, they know who they are. They even sometimes call them to table for amnesty discussions. So what are we talking about here? Nigeria is the right place. We have all the factors of production, the land, both surface land and inside the land, the human capital, over 200 million 5 years of age. We have the financial capacity. We can actually generate over $100 billion investment capital into this economy. But we need to do the right things. Put in place the physical and cultural amendments that allow this country to breathe.
Now, Dr. Obiaraeri, I understand you have to go, but if you could just squeeze this in 60 seconds, I would really appreciate. The Nigerian government has a bold and audacious plan of growing its economy to a $1 trillion economy by 2030. Is this realizable, or should we just focus on getting people out of poverty? Because as it speaks, it's more than 140 million Nigerians that are currently living in poverty.
Nigeria can actually grow our GDP to $1 trillion by 2030. Very, very easiest to do. And how do we remove the over 140 million Nigerians out of poverty, driving growth in the economy. Like I mentioned to you, the lowest hanging fruit is the agricultural sector. And most of this responsibility falls within the purview of the local government chairman and the governors. All I expect the federal government of Nigeria to do is to put in place, I tell you today, to be able to build up an economy that removes 140 million people out of poverty within the next 5 years, we need to first of all mechanize and tech agriculture. We need 2 million to 3 million smart farmhouses across Nigeria. We need 2 to 3 million tractors, bulldozers, and all agro equipment and implements. We need 25,000 storage centers and storage trucks that can move goods. We need to fix insecurity. And I tell you the truth, we need to set up 2,500 agro-industrial parks. Each of them will be seated with about $6 million. $15 billion will do this. In the next 1 year, I didn't tell you the next 10 years. Next 1 year, we will create over 30 to 40 million direct jobs that will generate for each of them nothing less than $500 monthly income. We will build up an economy that the whole world will wonder what we did. But we need to start. And let me tell you, we've developed templates. We've shared with these governments without missing word how we can do these things, when we can do it, what is required to do it. They want to go and borrow $21 billion. What are they going to do with it? It is not tied on anything. If they hand over $21 billion to me, and they ask me to help them supervise sites executed, I tell you of a truth. In the next 5 years, we will not just have a $1 trillion economy. We will have an economy that removes over 60% of those within the extreme poverty level out of poverty. And these things are no rocket science. But for it to happen, we must have to restructure the whole constitutional, physical, and governance architecture of Nigeria to what it should be, and you will see this country fly. And the most unfortunate thing is that 99% of those who purport to lead us across the 3 tiers and arms of government do not even understand what we're talking about.
Right. Mr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, thank you so much for shedding light on this particular topic. Let's get to see what will happen. Maybe in the next release, Nigeria will actually feature. But we look forward to talk to you again. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.